one of your more, I would say, complex common sense practices, but very common sense, was a system of participation you developed that was called the IQS. Is based on ideas, questions, and suggestions. Tell me about this policy and how this was common sense.
Well, one of the things we discovered in motivating our staff to achieve more was the fact that everybody liked to be part of something great. They wanted to participate. And I tried everything. I tried suggestion boxes. I tried ideal boxes, everything. Nothing seemed to work. Then we came up with this idea that here's the way you can improve your IQ in our company. You can have ideas, questions, and suggestions. Well, that was a great plan, right? But unless you respond rapidly to those ideas, questions, and suggestions, they dry up. So as a practice, we said if you have an idea, question, or suggestion, you submit that. And when you submit that, your supervisor will either approve that or he'll pass it to the next level, to his manager. And if his manager can approve that, we'll put that plan into effect. Or if he can't, you get an audience with the president. That was me, right? And so we put that plan in, and we want to do that within a 72-hour turnaround. So whenever possible, within 72 hours of you submitting an idea, we'd either implement that or give you a plan for implementing it, or you'd have an audience with the president to learn more about that idea. So consequently, we had tremendous ideas, questions, suggestions every single month. And we had hundreds of them because they knew they were going to go into practice. And remember, we did not penalize you if you had an idea that you had to put that into practice. We would have it implemented by someone else if that was the appropriate person to put it in practice. And this is one of the greatest things we ever did in our company. And this was without any monetary reward. Now, this would become part of your review process when you reviewed for promotion or for a salary increase. But we didn't reward you monetarily for these ideas.
And so you were the only person who could reject an idea?
Absolutely.
And now, how did this change the guys below? Like, if the idea came to me and I was a frontline manager, somebody gave me an idea, and I was afraid to approve it, I couldn't reject it. I had to pass it up to the next person, right?
That's right.
So I'm trying to think of, that would kind of put pressure on me to say, hey, if this is good or has any merit, I better find a way to implement it.
Absolutely, and not only that, it pushed the idea down to the person who had the idea. So if I'm your associate and I have an idea, it's beneficial for you to help me put that into practice, because as the president, I'm going to say, well, Philip is the person who develops people that have the ideas. So what we found is it was a real training tool when we had a supervisor that had ideas come to him that he didn't implement. So we were able to train him to implement those ideas, and it made our management staff much more effective.
Well, playing devil's advocate, I would think, you wouldn't want to be the manager who passed up an idea, literally passed it up, and then it was approved by the boss.
No way.
And then, did that have any negative effect? Did anybody ever over-improve ideas and implement things that shouldn't have been?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had ideas that were approved that shouldn't have been approved. But then, we were able to train people because of that process the same way. Also, a lot of the ideas that would come to me that were rejected were because of budgetary. We had a budget we had to stay within, and sometimes that person at that level couldn't approve that. Or it was just something that was it was a complex idea. And in order to approve that, we had to have people from different units or different teams participate. And these would be the times where it would come to me, we would talk with that associate, then we'd have a team meeting. And other times they were just bad ideas.
Did you ever have an idea that really transformed the company, that came up from the bottom like that?
I'm sure there was many of those ideas, but it wasn't those transforming ideas. One of the ideas we had was, it's too dark in our parking lot out on the North 40. So our people were scared to park out there, and they were afraid of their security at night. Putting in a light out there, a night light, changed the way people felt about coming to work. Now, that may not seem very dramatic, but it was dramatic to people who parked out there. Another idea we received one time was, the water tastes like oil when we get it out of the water fountain. I'm thinking, how could the water taste like oil? So we had it checked out, and sure enough, we had a problem with our water fountain. Well, that seems small, but if you have 100-some people trying to get a drink of water and it's bad, it becomes something they complain about. So those little things ended up being dramatic impacts in our company.
Well, and again, I guess what was different was like a suggestion box. It goes in there, and who knows when it's going to be looked at or if it will be looked at. But you had this 72-hour window where it had to be responded to.
In fact, on these suggestion boxes, our first time we put one in, we made it white, and all we got was complaints. And so someone said, well, you need to change it to red. Well, we got worse complaints when we changed it to red. What we found out is suggestion boxes may be okay for some companies, but all we got was complaints with no names on them. You know, when you have ideas, questions, and suggestions, and you're gonna recognize these people for the fact that they have these ideas, they're willing to put their names on it. They're willing to take ownership. Not only this, they love being recognized in front of the entire department when they have this idea that we implement.
That's great.